If you're looking for a loadout with the Arcthrower that is going to go against any faction within the game and you're still going to have an incredible time, have fun, and yet get the clears pretty easily as well, this is going to be the loadout for you. You guys already know I really love the Arcthrower. I always try to create builds around it and make it as viable as possible. There's going to be like slight differences. Obviously, we have to move around the armor sometimes depending on who we're fighting. But that said, I'm going to give you a few options in case you want to swap items around as well. First, let's talk about the bugs. We all know that there's a bunch of new enemies when it comes to the bugs, such as the predator strain and the explosive bugs and whatnot. And probably in the future, we're going to have even crazier enemies. So this build is going to be created in a way that no matter what you're going against, it's going to have some kind of ability to deal with all of it. The first thing that we're going to pick up is going to be the 500 kg. Now, since we're working on a build that will be destroying any faction within the game, we can go with the orbital laser. This absolutely annihilates the bots, annihilates the Illuminates, and is also very, very good against the bugs as well, especially if you're pushing into mega nests, for example. And now that we have, you know, those Titan nests as well, it can come in handy a lot. You just throw this in, it clears out everything, and then you can focus on the bigger nests, for example, and whatnot. The biggest problem is that you can only use it 3 times. Hopefully that also gets changed in the future, but it's still very, very strong. That said, I told you guys I would give you some options. So if you do not want to run this, you can either go for the precision, you can go for the 120 as well, or you can go for the orbital rail cannon strike. I personally really enjoy the orbital laser. I think it looks cool, it functions really well, so we're gonna stick around with this one. There is one item that is gonna be very important for the bugs, and that's gonna be the gas rover. So we're gonna pick this up for the bugs specifically, and then obviously we're gonna slap on the Arcthrower. For the booster, it's always gonna depend on what your team is running. If I do run solo though, I prefer using stamina enhancement. For the secondary, we are going to be using the ultimatum. This weapon stays the same across all 3 factions. In my opinion, it is one of the strongest weapons within the game. So yeah, for me, this is like the main secondary weapon at the moment. Unless they completely destroy this and nerf this, which I don't see happening, I don't think I'm going to take this off at the moment. For the grenade, or me personally, I feel like the gas grenades have been working really well across all factions. And the reason I say that is survivability. And on top of that, you can close down the bug holes, the spaceships. You guys know how it goes. And the reason this is so good is that you just drop this down, once again, no matter what faction you're fighting. And if you're in those very intense situations, it literally just keeps you alive. Like if you're trying to run away, no matter if it's the bugs, Illuminates, or the bots, you just throw this and you're good to go. You have more time to stim up and just get to safety. Now for the armor, for the bugs, I've switched from the light armor to the medium medical armor. I feel like you have a little bit more survivability, and especially with the new bugs, it does make your life a little bit easier. And for the primary, we are obviously gonna go for the purifier because this is a build across all factions. However, if you don't want to go for that, you can always go for the blitzer. This thing absolutely destroys the bugs. That said, the purifier gets the job done pretty easily as well. The one thing that you need to keep in mind is that if enemies do get close to you, you want to use the single fire mode. Don't charge the shots. Apart from that, you're not going to have any problems. This also has really good damage when it comes to, for example, the charger tails and so on. So what you can do is stun the chargers with your Arcthrower, then swap to this, charge it up, and absolutely destroy the tail of a charger. When it comes to bug holes, I use the gas grenades when I need to take them down, or if you see like a small or medium nest, you have the 500 kg as well. The bigger targets, you have a bunch of tools for them. Once again, 500, orbital laser, ultimatum, all of those things are really good. And if sometimes you hit him with a 500 or even a ultimatum, and for example a Ball Titan doesn't go down immediately, just zap them with the Arcthrower a few times and they're gonna die. That is actually a very strong combo as well, which makes it a little bit forgiving for you to use the ultimatum. If you're not landing those headshots and you see that the Titan is still alive, Arcthrower will finish the job pretty easily and you don't have to worry about it. Now when it comes to Shriekers, that's when either the purifier or the Arcthrower can get the job done. So those guys are not going to be a problem at all. When you're going to be getting pushed, let's say by the predator strain bugs, the explosive bugs, that's when the medium armor comes in. So you do have more than enough speed, and also you have a bunch of survivability with the stims, and your stamina is going to last longer. However, what you want to do is use the gas grenades to kind of keep them away from you, and then absolutely destroy them with the Arcthrower. It's incredible how good the range on the Arcthrower is, and how good the clear potential on the Arcthrower is as well. Also remember that you have the gas rover, which does an incredible job when it comes to CCing the enemies, and it takes the gameplay to the next level in combination with the Arcthrower, obviously. And it also makes it much easier for you to survive when it comes to Indepth stalkers, or like the new stalkers, or even the hunters that now always try to flank you. This thing absolutely keeps you alive. Okay, now let's talk about the Illuminates. The red stratagems in the Arcthrower stays the same, 500 kg. The laser absolutely obliterates the Illuminates, especially if you're doing, for example, the Blitz mission. Dude, one of these, you throw them in, essentially the mission's done. You don't have to worry about anything. It annihilates the tripods also, and has a very, very easy time destroying any other enemy when it comes to Illuminates. Same goes to the 500 kg. So these two are actually perfect for the Illuminates. And the Arcthrower is probably the best tool against the Illuminates as well, because it covers any enemy within the game, and it does a great job at it. And even when it comes to tripods, you can literally stun lock them with this weapon. And since you can essentially destroy tripods with most of the weapons within the game, that's not going to be a problem at all. However, if you are getting overwhelmed, 2, 3, 4 tripods, that's when the red strats come in. And the ultimatum, please don't forget that you do have the ultimatum at all times. Now, the first change we're going to make here is going to be that we're going to switch out the gas rover for a shield. And this is going to give us more survivability, since we are going to be running the medical light armor against the Illuminates. Now, the reason I'm not running the gas rover is that it doesn't really work as consistently against the Illuminates as it does against the bugs. So for example, the Overseers have this weird thing, like when they do get hit with the gas, it almost feels like they have to finish their animation. If they started the attack animation, for example, no matter if they are affected by the gas or not. And in general, sometimes it feels like they do get affected, sometimes they don't get affected. So it's very weird. So instead of that, I like to use the shield when I'm running the Arcthrower, so I have more survivability when it comes to some of the ranged enemies as I'm clearing everything with the Arcthrower. But this combo with the light armor and the shield is very, very good. So yeah, you're not going to have any problems against the Illuminates. Also, as mentioned, you have the gas grenade as well to confuse the zombies. What I like to do against the Illuminates is keep the laser and the 500 kg for those crazy times when I'm getting overwhelmed by tripods. The Arcthrower takes care of everything when you're going against the Illuminates, honestly. So it is one of the most powerful weapons against them. And now let's talk about the bots. So for the bots, all of this that you see right here stays the same. We're gonna pick up the 500, the orbital laser, Arcthrower, and the shield for that extra survivability. And then when it comes to the armor, this is essentially the only thing that I'm gonna be swapping here. Because all of the rest honestly works really well. And what I'm gonna be using for the armor is, once again, heavy armor with 6 stims. So essentially the heavy medical armor. I truly believe that this armor in general in the game is one of the best when it comes to survivability. And yes, you can go for the anti-explosive armor as well if you so wish, but I do prefer having those 6 stims, especially when I'm running heavy armor, so that my stamina lasts longer and it doesn't feel like it takes me 37 days to get from point A to point B. The Arcthrower makes Hulks extremely easy. The Berserkers, the Striders, any of the enemies that literally just walk around, they're gonna get destroyed. You can technically take down the gunships as well. However, it is a little bit clunky because they move around a lot. But that said, that's when the Purifier comes in, right? Like Purifier does an incredible job at taking down gunships. I always go for the charge shots. Obviously, you gotta just hit the engines and you're good to go. Just a few shots. If you're getting overwhelmed by tanks or bigger enemies, that's when your red stratagems come in, right? You have the 500 kg, you have the orbital laser, which, by the way, the orbital laser single-handedly can clean out big bases as well. And even if it doesn't like fully clear it out, which it does 90% of the time, you can throw this in and you just follow it. All of the bigger targets that are actually dangerous to the Arcthrower will be destroyed by the laser, and all of the rest you can just stun lock and get those easy kills. Don't forget that you have the shield for survivability, and you have gas grenades. You should be dropping these in when you're pushing into those bases, so that, you know, the enemies get confused, they don't do as much damage to you, and you manage to get out of there essentially much easier than you would without using the gas grenades. However, another very strong tool that we have is the ultimatum. So let's say you throw in a laser, you destroy one tank, second, third, whatever it is. You throw in 2 500s, you're destroying striders, but boom, now you're out of your red stratagems, you're waiting for the cooldown on the 500 and the laser. What do? Well, you swap to your ultimatum, and if there's another poor tank that somehow survived, you destroy those tanks as well. Obviously, you can destroy the tanks without using the ultimatum by just using, for example, the purifier, as long as you can see the weak spots. But in some cases, it does get hectic and you're not going to have the ability, the time, or energy to do that. So what you can do is just swap to your absolutely ridiculous secondary weapon, one-shot them, and never worry about it again. Another very cool thing about the Arcthrower is that, you know how sometimes you see 3-4 Hulks running at you in a line, or like even if they're close to each other, as long as you're zapping one of them, all of them get stunned. And this makes a big difference, especially if you're getting attacked by a bunch of devastators, right? The fact that the Arcthrower hits him and they just completely stop moving is incredible. Now, when you are fighting the bots though, they are going to be shooting back. They're not like the bugs, right? So you want to position yourself correctly. So if you see any kind of cover, try to hug it, for example, and if it's to your right side, at least you know that nothing's hitting you from there, and you're good to go. And in general, against the bots, you need to position a little bit better because they have a lot of range damage, like even compared to the Illuminates, right? Like Illuminates do have ranged enemies, but the amount of range damage is literally nowhere close compared to the bots. But yeah, this is the setup that I like to use with my Arcthrower that literally works against every faction in the game. It has been really fun to run this. And as I said, I really enjoy Arcthrower. I think it's one of the coolest weapons in the game. I do hope that it does get like a new shooting mode kinda, and what I mean by that is I would love to see something that gives it a really long charge and then it zaps the boss with high damage. I'm not saying like one-shotting the Bile Titans and one-shotting the tripods, or, you know, the Strider, whatever it is, but to the point where I don't need to hit it like 15, 16, 17, or 37 times, right? Like something that actually does really good damage. That kind of mode would be really nice. Okay, that's going to be it. Let me know what you guys think about the loadout in the comment section below. Thank you for all the love and support as always. Stay positive, stay disciplined, and I'll see you all on the next one.